Do y'all give talks in school?
Yeah, we do. We do a lot.
You need to come over here and start right now. We can talk to all the schools. We got to get those little kids, the parents, they're not paying attention.
I agree. And, I knock Plaquemines Parish hard. But I went to a council meeting at Plaquemines Parish, and I dropped the hammer on them. You had the realities of every bit. And I was amazed. At the end, I said, thank you very much. The audience, the residents of the audience, they applauded. And it's like, I just had a little hammered about the thread the whole bit. But I had the same issue. I had a school principal come up and said, hey, you need to come and talk to our school children because they need to know. And I'll give you the analogy, and I think this is why the chamber is so important. There is more information on an aspirin bottle about what you're taking as opposed to the information you have coming to wanting to live on the coast. I mean, literally, that is one of the most biggest problems that I see today, is that people really have so little. I mean, you got to go find what your potential flood insurance rates are going to be. You got to go find, and State Farm just did us a favor and raised their hurricane deductible by 5% of our mortgage values. And you got to find what your mortgage rates are. You got to find your flood zone, and you got to find whether or not you need to elevate. And if you need to elevate, you got to go and apply. So this is why I think Iberia and the chamber is so good, because you provide that opportunity for people to know. People want to work here. Why? It's jobs. They can get a check here. They can get a job here. Look, I just came from other parts of the country, and they're hurt. They are hurting today. But being informed and actually growing smartly is going to be one of those really key issues. And I think that's really why it's so important. The chamber is doing what is the flood protection district, the stormwater drainage, Prescott. I mean, an emergency manager 20 years ago, today, whole different game, whole different set of skills, and a whole different set of resources. So that's important. Any other questions? Roy, congratulations on retiring. Who would have thought? Yes.
Just for everyone's comment, the storm surge forecast, I think it's incredibly exciting. Whenever that storm was, just went up North Carolina, and I was watching carefully. And it's experimental. Weather Service will tell you, but they were doing it 2-3 weeks ago, and that will be in all the forecasts. So everyone will see graphically go down to, gee, will the surge reach Highway 90? Will it be forecast?
Right.
To reach Highway 90. So I wanted to foot stomp that one. It'll start coming out 48 hours beforehand. And I think that's a tremendously valuable product that the Weather Service and the Hurricane Center gave us. You mentioned this Total Water Initiative.
Right.
How far into the future are we talking?
It's going on now. I'll send you the presentation. We were
Okay.
just meeting in Lake Charles, and actually that's the thing. And it's not an Iberia Parish thing. It's not a coastal Louisiana thing. It's a Florida, it's Mississippi, it's a Texas thing. You get a heavy rainfall event coming down, flash flooding coming down, and all of a sudden you're meeting a surge coming up, and you can't drain. So total water is one of those things. I'll send you the presentations. And
Is the idea that it would produce a graphic
Right.
forecast, just like the surge forecast?
It's going to be, that's why it's going to be really in the making. But think about it, if we get it right, and we get a 10-inch rainfall across this entire area, and we're getting a 4-foot storm surge against the coast, we can start talking about what kind of streets, what areas of Iberia Parish may have a water issue. And then the parish can get ahead of the curve, hopefully. Increase drainage, close roads, warn residents, things like that, to essentially get you prepared to respond to this storm event. By the way, what's the worst weather months we have? Is it the hurricane season? No, it's actually the winter and spring. We have more bad weather that time of year than we actually, so people dwell on, oh, it's just storm's a hurricane. And if you went through this winter, we had 26 days of freezing. We had 4 ice storms. And then I still have people saying, oh no, it's the hurricane season. It's like, dude, if you survive the winter with all the events we just had, I think you're ready to go for the tropical storm, as long as you're prepared, as long as you listen to your emergency managers and don't knock on Prescott for saying, I'm very excited about this new storm surge. Only a good emergency manager can just gush about the new storm surge products. But you've got great talent, you've got great expertise. The ability is, what are you going to do to have that information ahead of time to respond to it. How hard is it to get away from a hurricane? It's not hard. I give you 3 days, you can be gone. But then you got to start backing up. All right, what am I doing with my family? What am I doing with my business? What am I doing with my home? Where am I going? Things like that. So the hurricanes is usually not the issue. People get hurt usually because they hurt themselves. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have things ready to go. They didn't know where they're going. And those are the worst things. So you take care of you. We'll work on the storm with Prescott and everything else, and then you can essentially say that you're never going to have a chance of having yourself put at risk from a tropical storm or a hurricane. So you need to think about that in a lot of ways. Any other questions? Yeah.
Lots of comments I want to make, and I'm with Berry Parish Levy District. Thank you for the presentation you made.
Sure.
And being you all are a captured audience, I'll just make these comments. Today, you're getting impacted by people leaving our Berry Parish. You have less sales tax in in the city of New Iberia than you had last year. Believe it or not, if you are a resourceful guy, which most of you in this room are,
Or gal.
what are you going to, or gal, sorry, or gal, and where are you going to go if you're threatened with flood, or if you're sensitive to flooding issues? You're going to leave your business in New Iberia, and whenever you go, you're going to go to Youngsville and Broussard, not far, and you're going to take your disposable income with you. Your business operates here. Your disposable income goes right here to Broussard and Lafayette. You know, Allison flooded Youngsville, but the point is in this area, unless we take the initiative, and I'm saying, you know, Prescott's, he's taking care of you when he's seeing your backside. He's not seeing your front side. He's taking you out of here. Prescott, you need to get more involved in what we're doing, to publicize it, to get advertised. And I'm just saying that because it is very difficult, because all of us on the levy district are volunteers, not one paid individual. We're trying to do something with practically nothing. All the monies we get is because of our initiatives and our relationships with the CPRA, and I'm talking about Coastal Protection Restoration Authority. And we have to match funds. Your parish council has been extremely generous with us. There's an initiative that has started. We're starting to close up. The studies are on engineering with Delco Mabry project. We're trying to get the levees alignment, which is probably going to be along the coast. But you all have to ask yourself, are you willing to fund it? Are you willing to tax yourself? Something he didn't say. Iberia Parish is the lowest sales tax in this entire region. We're also the lowest practically in millages, which is your property taxes. We're at 79 now. We authorized to 110. All the issues at the library, it came up and it boiled over. Most of you got a little bit more educated at that time. The point is if you have money in you and where you need it the most, whether it's for the taxes for the library or the school board, I want to ask you a question. They're going to spend $50 million for 2 stadiums in Iberia Parish. All of you are going to pay. You're going to pay part of it. $50 million. And both stadiums are prone to flooding. Is that insanity? I mean, really, ask yourself, why not one state-of-the-art stadium? And yes, I'm being a little bit not greedy, but selfish right here, and devote the other $20 million to the levy district. But the other part of all of this is that I'm sitting on the outside and I'm evaluating all of what's going on and seeing what's going on. If you all like the Avery Islands and the Jefferson Islands, the Main Street district, you know, this is a really nice place to live. I like living here. I love it here. And I hope all of you do too. And I hope you're willing to fight for it, because you're going to have to fight for it. Our tides are coming in. Go right here to Pepperplex. Just look at the water in the ditch. That's caused by tides. That's not no storm surge or nothing. That's just tide water coming in. We didn't have that a few years ago. We don't have any marsh islands anymore. We don't have as much marsh anymore. And the reality of it is, when the levee is put, if it's put, and when it's put, it's going to be our coastline, whether you like it or not. Yeah, in Lafayette, y'all are pushing water on us, and Youngsville and Broussard. So what we're doing is we're not cleaning the ditches anymore. We're trying to hold it back. And that's our way of self-defense. But the point is the water is coming. We live in an area where it rains a lot. And I think we all love it here, despite the humidity. But nevertheless, you all have to ask yourself if y'all are willing to put up a half cent or something like that to support this levy system, because we can't keep going to Baton Rouge and to even the federal government to ask for money unless we participate. In other words, if you don't put yourself vested, if you don't put a foot in the fire, you don't get nothing out of the heat. You don't eat. And in 2017, there are royalty monies that are coming in from offshore royalties. You know, right now, our limit is 3 miles. We finally get to collect our 10-mile limit on offshore mineral taxes. And that's coming in 2017. It's supposed to be a good, but we have to apply for that, and you have to have matching funds. And the same thing with the state government. You got to have matching funds. And right now, to do this levy, you're talking about $300 and something million. Just the Delta Mabry. And CPRA has been generous in there, $30 million to us. But we have to come up with at least 10 to 15%. And we don't have that right now. But it's available. It is available. They went to capital outlay, and they got it because they see the need for it. Anyway, listen, I just want to tell you. But ask yourself if you're willing to support this. Thank you.
Well, and just to piggyback that, in essence, what you saying, and the people over here are aware of it, okay? You know, we're ready to put our foot in the fire, but it's the general public that you have to get. And when people are when it's gonna hit them in the pocketbook, when they're gonna have to be paying astronomical insurance, and when they can't get to the point where they try to sell their properties for whatever reason, and because it's in a flood zone, then they can't sell it because nobody wants to pay the insurance on it. I don't know what the answer to the question is of how to get the general public aware of how vital that levy is.
It takes the chairman, it takes the parish council, it takes the parish president, it takes the school board, it takes everyone that are in leadership positions to promote it, because all of us are volunteers. I have a job, I have a business. But all of us together, believe me, can really make this work. We lost about 12 votes on the millage tax. 12 votes. We worked on to raise $7 million at the time that we could amortize. It was really $150 million. And the point I guess I'm trying to make in all of this is that don't pay for all of it, but at least we could make a step and get something going. And unless we do it, I'm going to tell you right now, it is very, very critical to Iberia Parish. This is a turning point, because our kids and grandkids, I want to see them stay here. But I'll guarantee you, what's going to keep them here? Places flood. And some of you may live on the north side of Lowerville and other places. And you're not affected by this. Well, let me tell you what happens when everybody leaves down south. Walmart closes, and Walmart is probably your biggest sales tax contributor to Iberia Parish. So when it closes, you get slapped in the face. What am I do? And as it goes forward, it's going to cost you more and more, because you have less and less being paid. Port's got a big project, you know, I forget, name it, the levy. I mean, the ditch.
Channel deepening project.
Yeah, the channel deepening project, but it's got a special name for it. But nevertheless, that's a big help for what's going to happen. And the more obstacles we can place in front of a surge, the better we all are. But we've lost our marshals. I'm sorry to say, we have lost them. And they're losing very rapidly.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and I think that's coming back to this coastal protection. One of the things I'll tell you right now is when you look at that website and you go, oh, we need to restore our marshes. Why? Why do you need to? I mean, is it going, and that's one of the important, for the environment. More importantly, is when you talk about these volleyball line fences and everything, you really got to start here and work out. So not way out and working in. So you need to deal with the stormwater drainage. You need to deal with the low-lying areas that you can then have flood protection help increase and enhance. And all of that needs to be tied to the chamber. When Terrebonne Parish goes to the polls and votes for their millage, just like you said, the parish president, the chamber, the Rotary, everyone is lock, stock, shoulder to shoulder, saying you need this, you need to vote for it, it's important, this is why we have the jobs, why we have the industry. And that's really important. With the population you have, you can do it. Guess how much millage St. Bernard Parish pays for their flood protection? 11.5 mils. It's the highest in the state, followed by New Orleans. They only have 35,000 people. Their flood protection budget goes into the red every year. 11.5 mils, and that's still not enough money. They're still having to dip into parish funds to help fund their flood protection with 35,000 people. With the critical mass you have, and the population you have, and the knowledge of the fact that we have so much open water that's encroaching farther and farther here. Vermilion Parish rice farmers, I tell you, they get a tide 30 miles inland, right up to their gates in terms of their fields. So knowing that, that's why the time to take action is right now. If you're waiting for 41 years, and you're lost in St. John, and you're finally getting around to flood protection, and you just got 7,000 homes flooded, something's wrong. Something's wrong. So you are way ahead of the curve, but you're going to have to take that next step and take these initiatives and act on them. You know, I'm sitting here for NOAA, so I can't tell you to vote yes. I can't tell you to vote no. But I can tell you what the future landscape's going to be. And if you don't take action, it's going to catch up, and it's going to affect your population centers. And we've got 3 of the biggest parishes in the coast that are living examples of that right now. So those are the kind of initiatives that are important. The fact that you have a board, a volunteer board, not earning a dime, sitting there in these meetings every month throughout the year, pushing these initiatives, getting CPRA involved and aware, is a real credit to all of you guys. It's really very, very important. So those kind of issues are going to have to continue to really be on the forefront. And I'll tell you, I walked in the room and people started talking stormwater drainage, talking flood protection, talking levees. You're really on. I've got other places that, you know, they're like, we have a flood problem. It's like St. Bernard, we have a flood problem? Yeah, I think you do. So those are the kind of issues and the initiatives you need to continue to really push. And I really commend you. You've done a great job.
Tim, what are your predictions as far as sea level rise for the next 100 years?
Oh man, that sea level rise. It's one of them administration conspiracies just going on. Sea level rise here or in Pensacola Beach, Florida, at Flounders, where the bar joke from the grasshopper came from. What is that rate? What's the sea level rise rate between the bar and Pensacola Beach and here? It's the same. It's the same. A couple millimeters, 2-3 millimeters. No change. Well, what's the difference? What's the difference? Subsidence. Subsidence. We were built on a levee. We were built on a delta. We live in a delta. If you go to a satellite image, Google Earth, and look at Louisiana, and you look at how much we stick out into the Gulf, that's the deltas of the Mississippi River that built this coastal landscape. When you're not having a delta growing, guess what it does? It dies, and it subsides. So we have a relative sea level rise rate about 4 to 5 times higher than over Pensacola Beach. But that's what gave us all this navigation. That's what gave us all these waterways. That's what gave us all these ports, our interaction with the water. So we have it. So in your engineer, how many engineers in here? You got to set a wake-up call for this, boys. But with your engineering talent that you have here, you need to plug in the fact that you're probably going to be seeing about 1/3 to 1/2 inch of elevation drop every year. Every year in Iberia Parish. And if you think that's bad, I can take you over to around Chalmette area and I'll show you on rates almost twice that in terms of dropping really severely. So is stormwater drainage going to be worse 5 years from now in Iberia Parish? Oh yeah. And that's why you need to get ahead of the curve. Use our rates. Look, in 20 years, 30 years from now, 25 years, as I tell Terrebonne Parish, you're going to be about a foot lower in terms of your elevations. So what do you need to do with Morganza? You need to actually build it a foot higher now in terms of your plans, because in 25 years, you're going to have a foot of elevation you're going to lose. So by the time you finish Morganza, it needs to be even a foot higher to essentially account for that subsidence. Those numbers are there. This has nothing, and I'll tell you one thing, this has nothing to do with climate change, okay? This is just us. This is just our landscape. It's moving down. So when I go sometimes to Baton Rouge, I get people like, it's conspiracy theories. No, we were built on a delta. The delta is subsiding. Sea level rise is pretty much a natural process. And if it goes up in the future, we'll worry about it at that point. But we, with engineering and your surveying talent, have a way to give you those numbers to make sure your stormwater drainage, your coastal protection plans are keeping up with what those elevations are doing. In fact, one of the things I was going to say with Prescott, we need to be doing with Highway 90 is we need to get current elevation profiles on that highway, match it to the water levels, and allow the Weather Service to then say, okay, if a storm surge is coming at this height, they can actually tell you at what point during that event that you'll be able to see Highway 90 actually going underwater. Worst thing we hate is having like some, of course, the youngest sheriff's deputy on the force being stuck out in their car saying, yeah, water's coming up, yeah, it's on the hubcaps, and then finally telling you to leave. So in a lot of ways, our use of these elevations, or looking at these sink rates, can actually help you in terms of future planning. Anything else? Thank you again.
I would just like to invite anyone who's interested to come into my office at Iberia Parish Planning and Zoning on Weldon Street. We have a flood map.
Yep.
And it shows the whole parish, because I think a lot of people, they're not realizing how much of our parish is really in a special flood hazard area. And 85% of our parish is in a special flood hazard area. So the levees, these kind of things, is very important. And you're welcome to come to my office. I can show you your house, I can show you your land, I can see your dog in your yard. So please, feel free to come and come visit us and see it.
Thank you. Thank you.